Hi everyone, welcome back. I'm Z and I'm the fairy medicine woman, psychic and medium, seer, philanthropist, all the things. And today we have a really fun topic that I wanted to talk about, and I've been getting a lot of urges from spirit to talk about a lot of the spiritual and cosmic things that happen in my life. And to share them with you all and teach people about how the universe actually communicates. We see a lot out there that the universe does big things, it's magical, but we don't actually see a lot of people sharing how you can recognize the communication, because that's really helpful. So today I want to talk about meeting yourself. So it's kind of in the title, but it manifests itself in many ways. But I wanted to also mention that the universe will do this, especially if you're a seer and you're extremely tapped in like myself. The universe does this to let you know that you have successfully leaped, or that you will be leaping soon, and this is a version of you that's going to be coming. And depending on what you've communicated, probably in the last month or so, maybe 2 months, it might actually be a projection that is a version of yourself that turns out to be an aspect of your future self. So it doesn't necessarily mean that you are going to become that soul person or thing that is reflecting back to you an aspect of you or a version of you. It means that it is a part of your future self. So your highest self is also like working in tandem with the universe, because it's all energy to show you the future, right? And while all of this is happening, if you've done your inner child work and you've also connected with your inner child is going to also help manifest these people to you even faster, and they're going to likely resemble or be connected to your childhood in some way. Like, a lot of people think that if you're going to meet your future self, it's going to be like, I don't know, someone in a business suit or something. um it's likely going to be a part of your most authentic self, which is also going to come from your child self, because children are the closest to the realm. They manifest really quickly. They are who they want to be, so they don't really have to hide anything. And the universe and your highest self and your inner child will basically let you know, like, what parts of you are your most authentic self, but your soul is manifesting it. And it just happens to manifest into your 3D, which I feel like is the coolest thing, because a lot of law of attraction videos and things like that will tell you that, it already exists, it's done, and it's all these things, but we don't really get any sign. Like, you get some signs depending on if you're psychic and how far your clairs are developed, but like the general person doesn't necessarily have those type of clairs that are highly developed yet. Like, they take a journey to getting there. And so what I found really cool was actually opening my energy so much to the point where the universe, my highest self, my inner child would just pull into the 3D or drop into the 3D my future, so I could experience it, see it, and move forward. And that also helped me manifest faster. As many of you know, what I manifested in the last 9 months has just been fucking wild. So there are a few ways that this can happen, and what I've experienced is, depending on what your likes and hobbies are, the universe, your highest self energies will express your future self to you in ways that you can understand, in ways that you appreciate. So I really love anime, I love drawing, and I love talking to people. So those were the avenues that they took to let me know that I was leaping, and it was really quickly. Like, a lot of the times when I met myself, it was usually the next day. It wasn't like, I met myself and then 6 months later, it was like, here you go, here you are, get ready. And I'm like, fuck, that was fast. And one example of this is, I actually had it on my Instagram video. I didn't slow it down a ton, but I had it on my phone for a while is I went to a tattoo shop, and I've mentioned this story I think before, and there was an anime drawing, and one of the people in the drawing looked like me and the clothes and like it was like freakish. And you know, the person I was traveling with at the time was like, are you seeing what I'm seeing? I was like, yeah, I'm fucking seeing what we're seeing. What the fuck is that? But the thing was, I didn't have those clothes yet. And sometimes it'll be the clothes you are currently wearing if they're like, oh, here you go, or it'll be like clothes you're about to get. And they communicate also to me through clothes because I love clothes, and I'm also a fashion designer, which I don't really do anymore, but I do that. And then the next day I walked into the shop, and there was the exact outfit from that like anime drawing, which didn't have an artist attached to it. They bought it from somebody but didn't have any contact information. So, and that's another sign that, you know, you will meet yourself, but there's no way for you to like communicate with the thing that created it, right? Like it's like there's no digging into it. Like that's how you know you've also met a version of yourself. It'll be in your face. There's no way that you can dig any further, and then literally just smack you in the face the next day, which usually happens to me. And I, you know, go into the store, I put on the clothes, and they fit perfectly. And I was like, funny how that happens. Like it was like the shirt, the jacket, and the shorts all together hanging there. And then the next day, like there were headphones, like cat headphones. And I was like, this is oddly specific. And then I had roller skates. And so then I was like, okay, well, that's really fun. And I was like, whatever this new timeline is, it's so much fun. And then there's been other times where I'll be in an app and there will be a cartoon something, and it'll be a version of me, and I've been sitting there wearing the exact same clothes, and I'm doing something. Like I was on a language app and I was literally sitting there like, oh my god, we're wearing the same thing. And then I think the most creepiest version was actually meeting myself. So they looked very similar to me. We had different color. I think at the time I may have had blue hair and they had like pink hair, but I was thinking of coloring my hair pink, and they were the same height as me. We sounded almost identical, and their name was Z. And I was like, get the fuck out of here. I was like, are you kidding me? And the person I was traveling with was like, are you serious? And I was like, it's happening again. Like, what is all this? And we kind of stand there and we're looking at each other. And then they're like, oh my god, I love running. I love running. I love running dogs. I love running dogs. When you run so free. Like it was like an explosion of us together. It was almost like very activating at the same time, which I had, you know, reflected on all the times that I had met myself. And I was grateful that the universe had done that, because it activated that self in me so that I could manifest that version of myself even faster, because it was tangible. It was in the 3D. It wasn't something that was like, oh, law of attraction, like it's in the it's in the 5D, you gotta like do it. It was in front of me. So there was no way that I could sit there and be like, that version of myself just doesn't exist. It's just a hobby that I like. Like the universe was like, no, this is you at some point. And I'm like, okay, cool. And then we would have like a celebration of like meeting each other and all these things. And then, as many of you know, like I recently kicked off my 101 pups, where I do run dogs and train ethically and do all these things. And it's actually been something that I've loved. And you know, when I was younger, my inner child is reminding me, when I was younger, I used to call myself Spot because I loved 101 Dalmatians, and I had just forgotten about it. But I've always been like an animal whisperer. My friend calls me a shark whisperer. But the more that you tap into who you are and your authenticity, the universe is literally going to reflect it back to you so fast that it'll blow your mind. So I always remind people, and I just made a TikTok about this, like you have to forget about what you think you know about manifestation. Like even if you look at other manifestation teachers, none of them are talking about different types of manifestation. They're just saying that, you know, oh, you have a want or a desire, and then it like comes into your, I'm like, did you ever think that you might have a want and desire, and like you don't even like, even though you don't consciously know about it, the universe literally plops it for you. Like, instead of like, even though we do attract things, I'm like, did we ever think that maybe we might also be sending information in the opposite way? And then the universe is sending, like obviously it's doing that at the same time. Do you get what I'm saying? Like I'm trying to explain this in a way that I don't have to talk about like quantum things, but like I just always tell people, forget everything you know about manifestation and how it's going to show up. And it's the same thing when you work with angels and deities, which is what I do because I'm a spiritual teacher. Like, everything that I had been taught about manifestation was, yes, true to an extent, and then all this other stuff was true. Like, all these other ways of communicating, all these other ways of manifesting, all these other ways of having the universe assist you, because it wasn't like it wasn't like, oh, my manifestation was there. My manifestation was there, but the universe was also saying, look at all these versions of yourself. Like, stop trying to put yourself into a box. Like, and that's the other thing too. Like, we get very linear with our manifestations, but you can have multiple versions of yourself. And that's what I also had to realize. And it didn't have to come in like a year or 2 years, or when I'm 50 or when I'm 60. This was all over 9 months, and I met like 9 versions of myself. Because I was communicating with the universe so quickly, and it's happening now again. Like, I haven't even been home that long, and I've met 3 versions of myself. So it's like your conversations with the universe can become very fluid and open if you just allow it to. But I wanted to just kind of explain like what it can mean when you run into yourself. It's many things, right? They're like, it's not just gonna be one answer of like, oh, it's just an aspect of Bob. It's like, no, there's many things. Your inner child is manifesting, your soul is manifesting, you are manifesting, the universe is trying to give you confirmation, like this is literally what's coming. Like, all these things. If you're a seer, like it's a part of your like skills to see into the future, and you manifested like a version of your future but into the 3D, and then it disappears. Like, it's like the weirdest shit I've ever seen, but it's the coolest thing I've ever seen, because it's such an honor to know that even though we talk about how powerful we actually are, seeing it in front of you real time and being able to interact with it makes you realize that some shit is just a little bananas. And how cool is it to experience it? Like, my younger self, who used to read about black holes, is very excited about this information, which is why I also want to share it with everybody, because manifestation doesn't have to feel so heavy and frustrating, which I feel like people sometimes make it that way, because sometimes it does hurt. Like, sometimes it does hurt to know that maybe your manifestation isn't going to come when you want it to, because you are pushing it back a little bit, or you know, you have a little bit more healing that you want to do, or maybe it's just the not right alignment. Like, you have 10 million fun things to do before you get to that manifestation, and you think you want that thing, but really your soul's like, I don't know if you want that. You might want to meet your other version of self before we do all these things, right? And so it's like really allowing yourself to sit back with your manifestations and just let them unfold. Because the one thing that I realized over those like 9 to 10 months that I was really experimenting with all this, and you know, traveling around and seeing how many versions of myself I'm gonna be meeting, seraphims and physical bodies, and then them disappearing and people not remembering, like all of these things, like it was the most fun and still is fun that I've ever had in my entire life. And like nothing has compared to it, because when you start to just let go and surrender, you can have fun. Like you can literally have fun no matter what you're going through. And when people say, oh, you know, it's kind of like a game, yes, it's 10,000% 10,000% like a game. Like, and I've talked about this before, like the fact that every level up is what you want to call them, or leap, the universe decides to play the same music to know that I finished it, literally reminds me of fucking Mario Brothers. And then sometimes they'll play the music and I'll see Mario Brothers because they think it's funny. Like it's like, you know, and then you have the energy of your ancestors who are around, who are like doing stuff as well, like pushing you along. Like you start to realize that life doesn't have to be as serious and dense as we need it to be, but we can still be warriors. We can still be light workers. We can still be activists and poets and, you know, taking down the system. Like we can still do these things, but at the same time, we can understand how the energetic system works and outsmart people. You know what I mean? Because at the end of the day, if you, let's say you had a project that was really important socially, right, to the world, to the community, if you had gotten so many signs that it all works out in the end and you took down that system, whatever it was, you could then relax, like not in a bad way. It doesn't mean you like slip back into old tendencies. It means you let that manifestation do what it needs to do and you keep doing the work, but you enjoy the journey without making your hair turn gray. You know what I mean? So it's like, then you know it all works out in the end. Even as an activist, it all works out. And yes, there's going to be shit along the way that we have to deal with, because obviously it's the 3D. So we have to deal with people's free will and actions and people's journeys and energies that are like cosmic and like spiritual, all the same thing, but you know what I mean, like different frequencies. So like that's the journey of life that you can then begin to appreciate and then begin to find gratitude for. Like it's so much bigger for us. And I know I'm going on a longer tangent, which tends to happen when I talk about these topics, but I just wanted to share that in case you had seen different versions of yourself, or yeah, and like didn't really know what to do or who they were or what you suspected, but usually your intuition is right. It's your future. It's your future and it's coming in hot. So get ready. And you know, this could also be you meeting yourself and you're married and you have kids, right? Like, but it's going to be different than you seeing couples and things like that, right? Like, yeah, you will start to see that, but when you meet yourself, when you meet yourself, it's way different. It's so much more different than like seeing remnants of your future reflected in other people, right? Like it's so different. The energy is different because they don't interact with you because they don't know you. But when you meet yourself, yourself meets you. Like it's like you literally just come together and there's no other way around it. So experiment with that, play with that, go have fun, enjoy life, and you know, don't take everything so I mean, I want people to be activated because I'm also an activist, but when you are constantly within sorrow and things like that, it makes it very hard for you to actually bring your manifestation forward. And as people who are light workers and warriors, like you have to stay in a different frequency. You can't, we can't as a team, we can't afford to sink any lower. Because we have to stay elevated, because we have destinies and we have a purpose in this lifetime that we need to fulfill that is for the help of humanity. which is why I also want to share this so that you know how to use your gifts and you can further develop them on your own. And maybe this inspires you to make a channel about all the weird shit you've seen, right? So just go out there and have fun. And I'm sending y'all so much love and so many hugs. And again, I'm gonna be opening up Z's school for the gifted. It's gonna be donation based, and we're gonna meet once a week. So we can really talk about this stuff. We can develop it more, even as light workers, spiritual healers. I also have a craft, so I'm gonna be teaching people about like how to create spells and how to do protection work and how to do altar work, and how to work with deities, or whatever it may be, engaging with yourself and like what to do when they disappear. Nothing, you just leave it alone, don't chase them down. But I know sometimes you get curious and shit happens, but you'll never catch them anyways, just PS. Just have fun and check out my link tree as well. I've got a ton of resources in there. I've got a ton of sessions that I'm offering now. If you want energy work, anything, intuitive readings, tarot readings, I do tarot as well, which I'll be bringing back very, very soon. And I have music and a podcast for more generational healing, which is a little bit different than this topic. Like, this is more quantum mechanics and things like that meets spirituality and whatnot. But there's a lot of generational, like, family healing, talking about society and issues and things like that. It's some little bit of enlightened talk in the podcast, but it's there for you. Yeah, that's pretty much it for me. I'm sending you all lots of love, lots of hugs. Again, take care of yourself. Go be the bright lights that you are meant to be. Say hello to the versions of yourself that you so happily get to meet, because it's the coolest shit I've ever seen. And if you've experienced it, write it below. Or if you haven't and you're curious, also write that below. I want to know where you're at on your journey and how you're doing. You can put some hearts. You can like the video. Don't forget to subscribe. Share this with friends or family who are also interested in these topics. And if you're looking for a community, I do have a Discord, which there's other folks in there, so feel free to join, introduce yourself, say hi, people mingle. You can be independent. Feel like light workers tend to be that way, just very independent, either in the shadows or just hyper independent. There's no like in between with us. Like, there's no like, either we're like, I'm on a hermit right now and I need to go away, or we're just gonna be like, I'm gonna yap your ear off because I just learned something really cool. But yeah, go have fun. Bye, family. I will talk to you soon.